There is something deeply unsettling about the pyramids, not simply because they are ancient, not merely because they are massive, but because the more you study them, the less they behave like something built by a civilization we fully understand. And instead, they begin to feel like something placed, deliberately, carefully, almost as if they were never meant to belong to their time. Let us begin with what we think we know. The Great Pyramid of Giza is believed to have been constructed around 4,500 years ago, during the reign of the pharaoh Khufu. It is said to be his tomb, a final resting place built to ensure his journey into the afterlife. That is the explanation we have accepted for generations. But the moment you begin to examine it closely, that explanation starts to fall apart, because a tomb is meant to hold something, a body, artifacts, stories carved into stone, guiding the soul into eternity. And yet, inside the Great Pyramid, there is almost nothing. No confirmed mummy of King Khufu has ever been discovered within its chambers. No elaborate treasures. No inscriptions lining the walls, telling us who it was built for, or why. Unlike nearly every other royal tomb in Egypt, this structure is silent. It does not tell a story. It withholds it. This absence is not just strange. It is deliberate, because even tombs that were looted in antiquity leave behind traces, broken artifacts, inscriptions, fragments of history. The Great Pyramid does not. It feels less like something that was emptied and more like something that was never filled. And that forces us to confront a question that historians often avoid. What if this was never a tomb at all? Now consider its construction. The Great Pyramid consists of approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing between 2 to 80 tons. Some of the largest granite blocks, located deep within its internal chambers, were transported from quarries hundreds of kilometers away. These are not small stones that can be easily moved. They are enormous, unforgiving masses of rock that demand precision and control. We are told that ancient workers dragged these stones across sand, using ropes and wooden sleds. We are told ramps were built. We are told it took decades. But here is where the explanation begins to strain under its own weight. Because even with modern machinery, moving and placing stones of this size with millimeter-level precision is an immense challenge. And yet, the stones of the pyramid fit together so perfectly that in many places, not even a thin blade can pass between them. This is not rough construction. It is precision engineering. Even more puzzling is the material itself. Granite, used in the inner chambers, is an extremely hard stone, harder than the copper tools that ancient Egyptians are believed to have used. And yet, it has been cut, shaped, and polished with extraordinary accuracy, which leads to an uncomfortable but unavoidable question. How do you shape a material that is harder than your tools? Now let us move to something even more extraordinary: the alignment. The Great Pyramid is aligned almost perfectly to true north, with an error margin of approximately 0.05 degrees. This is not magnetic north, which shifts over time. This is true north, the fixed axis of the Earth. Achieving this level of precision today requires advanced instruments, astronomical calculations, and highly accurate measurement tools. And yet, this was accomplished thousands of years ago, without compasses, without satellites. Without any technology we recognize. This is not simply impressive. It is deeply confusing. And then, there is a detail that most people never notice. The pyramid is not actually four-sided, it is eight-sided. Each face is slightly concave, creating a subtle indentation that divides it into two planes. This feature is so precise and so slight that it can only be observed from the air under specific lighting conditions, particularly during equinoxes. Which raises an unsettling thought. Why design a feature that cannot be seen from the ground? Who was meant to observe it? Now consider the timeline. We are told that the pyramid was constructed in approximately 20 years. At first, this seems plausible, but when you break it down, The numbers tell a different story. To complete the structure within that time frame, workers would have had to quarry, transport, shape, and place one massive stone block every 2 minutes, continuously, day and night. For 2 decades, no margin for error, no extended pauses, no room for misalignment. This is not how ancient construction behaves. It is closer to something automated, something systematic. And then we must consider location. The Great Pyramid is positioned with astonishing accuracy near the geographical center of Earth's landmass. This is not a random placement. It suggests knowledge of the planet on a global scale. But how could an ancient civilization, with no access to aerial views or global mapping, determine such a location? And perhaps more importantly, why would they choose it? Now lift your gaze from the Earth to the sky. The layout of the 3 pyramids on the Giza Plateau closely resembles the alignment of 3 stars in Orion's belt. This is often referred to as the Orion correlation theory. The positioning is not exact, but it is strikingly similar. The spacing, the angles, the relative sizes. It is as if the structures were designed to mirror the heavens. But this leads to an even deeper question. Were they copying the sky or preserving a memory of it? Because if the pyramids are a reflection, then they are not just structures. They are representations, maps, possibly even coordinates. Now let us step inside once more. The internal temperature of the pyramid remains remarkably stable, hovering around 20 degrees Celsius, regardless of the extreme heat outside. This natural regulation suggests a deep understanding of airflow, insulation, and structural design. But there is more. Certain chambers within the pyramid exhibit unusual acoustic properties. Sound behaves differently within these spaces, resonating at specific frequencies. Voices can echo in ways that feel amplified, altered, almost controlled. This has led some researchers to speculate that the pyramid was not just built to house something, but to interact with something, possibly vibration, possibly energy. And then there is the material again. Granite, rich in quartz. Quartz, under pressure, exhibits piezoelectric properties, meaning it can generate electrical charge. Now imagine the scale. Millions of tons of stone, constant pressure, perfect structural alignment. Could the pyramid have functioned as some form of energy device? It sounds extreme, but when every aspect of the structure challenges conventional understanding, even extreme possibilities begin to feel worth considering. And then comes one of the most modern discoveries. Using advanced muon scanning technology, scientists have identified a large hidden void within the Great Pyramid, a previously unknown chamber. We know it exists, we can measure it, but we cannot access it. It remains sealed, hidden. This raises a question that is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. What is inside that chamber? Is it empty, like the rest? Or does it contain something that has remained untouched for thousands of years? Something preserved, something intentional. And then we arrive at perhaps the most controversial idea of all. What if the pyramids are older than we think? Some researchers point to erosion patterns on surrounding structures, suggesting exposure to heavy rainfall, conditions that do not match Egypt's climate during the accepted timeline of pyramid construction. If this interpretation is correct, it implies that parts of these structures could predate ancient Egyptian civilization itself, which would change everything. Because it would mean that the Egyptians did not build the pyramids, they inherited them. And if they inherited them, then someone else built them. But who? History offers no clear answer, and that silence is telling. Because human history, as we know it, spans only a few thousand years. But Earth's history stretches back billions of years. Between those two timelines lies a gap, a vast, unexplored gap. And we assume that nothing significant happened within it. But what if something did? What if an advanced civilization existed long before recorded history? One that developed knowledge, technology, and capabilities far beyond what we attribute to ancient societies? And what if that civilization disappeared? Not completely, but enough to leave behind only fragments. Fragments like the pyramids. If that is the case, then the pyramids are not achievements. They are remnants, not beginnings, but endings, and perhaps warnings. Because if a civilization advanced enough to build such structures could vanish, then the question is not just what they built. It is what happened to them. Now consider one final idea. If you wanted to leave a message for the distant future, one that could survive thousands, even millions of years, you would not rely on language. Language changes, it fades, it is forgotten. Instead, you would encode your message in something universal: mathematics, geometry, astronomy. And that is exactly what we find in the pyramids. Ratios that reflect fundamental constants, alignments that connect Earth to the stars, precision that transcends time. These are not cultural markers, they are universal signals, which suggests something profound. The pyramids may not have been built to be understood immediately. They may have been built to be understood eventually, by a civilization that had reached a certain level of awareness, a certain level of knowledge, perhaps by us. And if that is true, then the pyramids are not relics of the past. They are tests, thresholds, something placed in our history to challenge us, to force us to question, to push us beyond what we think we know. Because every time we approach an answer, the pyramids respond with another question. And that may be their true purpose. Not to give us certainty, but to remove it. Because certainty ends curiosity, but questions drive evolution. So perhaps the real mystery is not how the pyramids were built, but why they continue to affect us. Why, after thousands of years, they still pull us in, still challenge us, still refuse to be fully understood. Because right now, as you think about them, you are no longer just observing history, you are questioning it. And maybe that is exactly what the pyramids were designed to do. Not to stand as monuments of the past, but as triggers for the future. And when we finally understand them, truly understand them, we may also understand something far more unsettling, that human history is not what we think it is.